Good day, everyone. This is Mark Vello, and you're listening to Headline News. Lara Trump. Donald Trump probably interested in running for office in 2024. Former President Trump's daughter-in-law and former senior advisor, Lara Trump, said on Sunday, February 21st, that Trump probably intends to run for president again in 2024. The latest polls also continued to show Trump's high levels of public support. Lara told Fox News, "He has told us to stay tuned and that this is not over for him, and he has indicated that he probably would be interested in running again in 2024. The Conservative Political Action Conference, CPAC, is to be held this week between Thursday to Sunday in Orlando, Florida. Lara referred to Trump as the head of the Republican Party. The CPAC appearance will be Trump's first public appearance since leaving the White House. Lara said, "He is really the person that everyone will continue to turn to in order to help them get across the line, whether we're talking about 2022 or beyond. I think this man has changed politics. He has changed our party, the Republican Party. There is no doubt about it." Last Wednesday, Trump was asked by Newsmax host Greg Kelly if he would run for president in 2024. Trump replied that it was too early to make a decision. "It's too early to say, but I see a lot of great polls out there, that's for sure," Trump said. "We have tremendous support. I won't say yet, but we have tremendous support, and I'm looking at poll numbers that are through the roof." Trump added, "I'm the only guy who gets impeached, and my numbers go up." Trump's senior advisor, Jason Miller, said last week that the former president will discuss the future of the Republican Party and the lessons learned in the 2020 election in his CPAC speech. Miller told Newsmax on February 20th that Trump plans to share his views on ways to increase Republican support for his America First agenda and how the GOP can win in the 2022 and 2024 elections. Miller said, "I think what you're going to hear President Trump talk about next Sunday, on the 28th, is the future of the Republican Party and the number of lessons that we learned in 2020, where we saw President Trump bring in a record amount of African American voters and Latino American voters on the GOP side. Bigger numbers than we've seen in modern Republican presidential history. We have to keep these voters engaged in the party." And according to Miller, Trump still has a positive vision for America's future. Miller revealed that Trump intended to focus on standing up to the CCP, reviving American manufacturing, eliminating monopolies on big technology companies, reopening schools, and securing the border, among other goals. CPAC, the largest annual gathering of conservative activists, will be held February 25th to 28th, with Trump speaking on the final day. Australia's $20 million vaccination ad will never be on Facebook. The Australian government has pushed for legislation requiring the social giant to pay fees to news media, sparking Facebook's discontent. On the 18th, the Facebook pages of Australian news media, including Sky News Australia, The Australian, and ABC, as well as several state government and emergency department accounts, were all blocked. The Australian government, seemingly unfazed by Facebook's move, sent the bill to the Senate for debate on February 22nd. The finance minister reiterated that the Australian government would not compromise and the bill will not be changed. The Department of Health also said it would never place $20 million worth of vaccination ads on Facebook. In an interview with Australia Broadcasting Corp, Finance Minister Simon Birmingham said the bill, in its current form, ensures that news content produced by Australian news organisations can and should be paid for and delivered in a fair and lawful manner. Birmingham also said that the bill can maintain the proper balance under the current circumstances. It is said that in the future, if private negotiations break down, these acts will give the Australian government the right to appoint an arbitrator to set content licensing fees. As Google has made concessions in the last week, it signed deals with several of Australia's largest media outlets, including a global agreement with Australian media mogul Rupert Murdoch's News Corp. Birmingham believes that there is no reason for Facebook not to follow Google's lead. Facebook representatives declined to comment on the legislation that has been sent to Australia for review. The Australian House of Representatives passed the legislation last week, and the bill also has the support of a majority of lawmakers in the Senate. Due to Facebook's continued blocking of news content on the Australian platform from the 18th to the present, the Australian Department of Health announced that it will not be buying ads on Facebook in the future. AFP reports that in an effort to counter the proliferation of anti-vaccine conspiracy theories, Australia has begun promoting a newly launched vaccination campaign for the corona/CCP virus, COVID-19, with a budget of about $20 million for the entire campaign, aimed at encouraging people to get vaccinated. Health Minister Greg Hunt said on the 21st that the Ministry of Health will implement a paid advertisement to promote vaccination, but it will never be placed on Facebook. Canada also announced on the 18th that it will follow Australia's demand for Facebook to pay for news content. Canada is fighting for allies in this tug-of-war with the tech giant and vowed that even if Facebook shut down its news service, as it did to Australia in general, Canada would not back down. Canadian Heritage Minister Steve Guilbeault condemned Facebook's blocking of all Australian users from reading news on its platform. He said the Canadian government would not be deterred if this happened in Canada. Guilbeault will be responsible for drafting a bill similar to the one in Australia, which is scheduled to be published in the next few months. The Myanmar people's call for continued strike is threatened by the military, US and Britain to impose further sanctions. On February 20th, the Burmese military fired live shots to suppress demonstrators calling for the restoration of democracy, resulting in the tragic death of 2 civilians. To confront the military brutality, anti-military coup protesters called on people to continue to take to the streets on the 22nd to launch the largest protest since the coup, a move the military warned would be a confrontation path where they will suffer loss of life. The U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken tweeted that the U.S. government will take firm action against the military's violent actions towards the people. British Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab also said that we will consider further action with our international partners against those crushing democracy and choking dissent. According to Reuters, leading youth activist Mong Song Ka urged others to join today's demonstration on Facebook, saying, "Those who are afraid to go out can stay at home. I will go out anyway, and I look forward to seeing Generation Z, those born in the late 1990s to 2000s, on the streets. According to the Free Times Taiwan, stores and some businesses will be shut down together, and the largest retailer, City Mart, has announced the closure of all its branches to support the public. In addition, almost all private banks in Myanmar have closed their branches, and ATMs are rapidly emptying of cash almost every day, reflecting the panic of the people. In response to the activities, Burma's state-run media, Myanmar Radio and Television, made public a statement from the military government, known as the Tatmadaw, warning people not to participate in the strike, saying that the authorities had noted that the demonstrators planned to incite riots and anarchy on the 22nd, taking the path of confrontation with the military, especially the agitated youth. This will only lead them to the path of death. According to monitoring groups, Myanmar was plunged into an 8th consecutive day of internet outages early this morning. In response to the Burmese military's elevated force against the demonstrators, countries such as the United States, Japan, Britain, Germany, and Singapore have condemned it. The U.S. Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, tweeted on February 22nd that the U.S. government will take firm action towards the Tatmadaw's violent actions against the people. He also stressed that he would stand on the same side as the Burmese. Singapore's foreign ministry also criticized the Tatmadaw's actions as inexcusable and warned of serious consequences if the situation continues to deteriorate. In addition, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres angrily criticized that the use of lethal force, intimidation, and harassment against peaceful demonstrators is unacceptable. So far, the US, Britain, and Canada have imposed sanctions on Burmese military personnel or organizations, including freezing assets, banning entry, and prohibiting businessmen from cooperating with the Tatmadaw. This concludes today's broadcast. Thank you for your time, and stay tuned for the next headline news.